Madam President. Commission. I want to thank the Senate. I want to thank this very important body which is focused on human rights here today for giving us this opportunity. Amnesty International has had a very long engagement and dialogue with the Mexican state and the people of Mexico on human rights issues. And I know that many of you have been part of that dialogue over the years. And we have a lot of pride in what Mexico does for human rights on the international stage. In fact, for some of the very important global treaties like the Arms Trade Treaty at the United Nations, we work very closely with the Mexican government to help this become a reality after 20 years of campaigning. So finally at the global level we have a treaty which will try to prevent arms from reaching the hands of people who could use it for human rights abuses. So this is a great example of Mexico showing leadership at the global level. We've also been very appreciative of the openness of the Mexican state to receive the United Nations Special Rapporteurs, to receive independent monitors like Amnesty International, and the government and the people of Mexico have always been very open and very honest in dealing with the challenges, which we very much appreciate. We also followed very closely the constitutional reforms, which opens a new chapter in the history of human rights in this country. And we know that that is something which you have all been very involved with, and we thank you for that. But the reason that brings me and the Amnesty International High-Level Mission here today is because we are also very concerned on some specific issues related to human rights. As I said earlier, we have Mexico, which is seen as leading a human rights, sort of progressive human rights agenda on the global stage. But over the last 5 to 7 years, we have been quite worried about the human rights situation domestically inside Mexico and also inside several Central American countries, because these are very interrelated issues. Which is why we've come here with a pretty strong team, and I just want to take this opportunity to introduce my colleagues as well. So we have Mike Bohini, who is our Director of Law and Policy, so he's our global head of all legal matters. We have Perseo, who heads Amnesty's national chapter in Mexico, so he's here. And then we have Erika, who's also Mexican, as it happens, but she's now leading our work across the entire American continent on research and advocacy. And we will be in October of this year opening a regional office to be based in Mexico City, which will cover not just Mexico but Central America and the Caribbean. And this really links back to my point that we have some growing concerns about some big human rights challenges that Mexico is facing. And the three issues which I focused on during my visit are also highlighted in the memorandum, of which you have a copy, but I want to just mention them very quickly. And after mentioning those three, I will come back specifically to what we feel the Senate can do to move the agenda forward. So the three issues which we are particularly concerned about, which the President already listed some of the points, but I think a key concern, a long-term concern in Mexico for us has been the issue of disappearances. And this is both, Mexico has got a terminology which is complicated on the issue of disappearances, because it encompasses a whole range of types of disappearances. But irrespective of the exact numbers involved and the exact definitions involved, the fact of the matter is that we are talking about a very large number of people who have disappeared over the last decade or so. And unfortunately, we are continuing to record new cases of disappearances even as we speak. So this is a big issue. We are very concerned that the search mechanisms are weak, the investigative processes are not very effective, and we are very worried that very few cases are ending up with holding the perpetrators of disappearances to justice. So that's the first issue. The second issue which we are deeply concerned about is the issue of the abuses which are being faced by migrants. And President, you mentioned this earlier. historically, and the Attorney General was telling us this morning that historically Mexico has been a very welcoming place for people who are fleeing from persecution, from violence, from poverty. Today the situation is that we have several 100,000 people passing through Mexico on their way to the United States, or some really looking for better options inside Mexico, and they are facing extreme human rights abuses, both from public officials and from organized criminal gangs. So that's the second big concern. As you know, about 80,000 people are being arrested, migrants. 75,000 or so of them are being deported. And these are amongst the most vulnerable people in this continent. And the third issue which we are very concerned about is the persistent patterns of attacks on human rights defenders and journalists in this country. Again, the numbers are unclear because the process of recording both disappeared migrants and attacks on journalists and human rights defenders are not very clear. There's no clear database, there's no good recording mechanism. But irrespective of the exact numbers involved, we find that there are an exceptional number of attacks and intimidation and threats to human rights defenders and their families. And within this, women and indigenous persons are particularly vulnerable. So these are the broad points which we are focused on. Now, the underlying issue across all of these points I made is the question of impunity. And again, this is a term which is used somewhat loosely, but as far as Amnesty International is concerned, if the perpetrators of these human rights abuses are not brought to justice, that's at the heart of what we mean when we say impunity. And this is particularly true for public officials and for people in the military. And I'll come back to the military justice question when we mentioned earlier. So, getting more specifically to the role of the Senate and our appeal to you today, we do believe that this body has a very key role as a check and balance in the executive. We've already met with the President, we met with the senior member of the Cabinet, we met with the Attorney General, we also met with the judicial arm, we met the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and we thought it's very important that to also meet the elected representatives and the legislature here today. So our appeal to you is that the first and most important point is that post the constitutional reforms, as you're creating the legislation to follow up on that, to regulate the 2011 constitutional reforms, our request is that it's absolutely key that you push hard for the legislation to be in line with international standards. So just to give you two examples of this, Arrigo is one of the examples, and enforced disappearance is the second. We would really urge you to ensure that international standards are met in the legislation for these issues. Again, as I said, Mexico is very loud about these kinds of issues on the international stage, and if your domestic legislation is not in line with international standards, I think it puts Mexico in a very difficult position. The second issue is about military justice. The President touched on it. From our view, our perspective, it's very essential that the Code of Military Justice is also brought in line with the judgment of the Inter-American Court for Human Rights. As I'm sure you would agree, by any international standards, the investigation, the prosecution, and the trial of military personnel accused of human rights violations should be the responsibility of civilian justice system and not any form of military tribunals. So that's the second point. The third one is about the Uniform Criminal Code, which is currently in process. And here the Senate, we feel, has a very key role in scrutinizing the implementation of the laws. We are worried that due process is being circumvented by many of the states.
Desde el interior del Senado de la República, reportó para IDN Periodismo, Gustavo Ayala.
Evidence which is being secured through torture and getting confessions through that process is something which is absolutely something which we would proposed, and I'm sure you would agree with this, but the Senate has a very crucial role in this respect. And the last point I want to make is a broader point, and this is about the role of the Senate in exercising, the Senate and particularly